Good morning, Chairperson and distinguished guests. Before starting my presentation, I must say something. I must say I am very new to this subject, the human rights, and there are many experts now present in this conference hall, Dr. Pratibha Mahanavheva and the chairperson, and please apologize if I make any mistake, and I need your further constructive criticism for this presentation. Thank you. Right. Today my presentation is going to be on study on prospects of enforcing fees by imposing non-military measures with special reference to Article 41 of the UN Charter and the relations to a Sri Lankan perspective. And I must say this is very broad topic, and my subject is going to be narrowed down to the with the focus of UN Charter Article 41. This would be my presentation outline. Now, to begin with my presentation, I will get the initiative. Sri Lankan experienced 30 years internal conflict with number of horrible memories leaving for the multilinguistic, multi-ethnic religious future generation in the states. The strong by the international community of the Sri Lanka on the disputes of violating human rights in the time between, during and the post-war scenario. The lesson learned reconciliation commission appointed by the head of the state to reveal the effective recommendation to guide the essential sectors on rebuilding the country with guarantee the protection of human dignity and human rights. Now, the research would be based on a qualitative approach, and the objective of my research would be to reveal some of the several attempts taken by the UN against Sri Lanka, evaluate the validity of the defenses made by Sri Lankan government, and inquire the success stories of the UN Security Council empowered under Article 41 of UN Charter to enforce the peace by imposing non-military measures, including comprehensive economic sanctions, and identify the sanction possibilities against the Sri Lankan context. Right. Now, as earlier mentioned, my presentation would be strictly sticking to the UN Charter, and to get certain background knowledge of this non-military measures, we should have to have a certain background knowledge to the Article 1 of the UN Charter. Article 1 of the UN Charter says basically to maintain the international peace and security, so that it shall take effective collective measures for the prevention and removal of threats to the peace, and for the suppression of acts aggression or other breaches of peace, to bring about by peaceful means, in conformity with the principles of justice and international law, adjustments or settlement of the international dispute situation which might lead to the breach of the peace. The second article to the subsection 2 of the Article 1 states two distinct principles. First one, to develop the friendly relations among the national based on the respect for the principle of equal rights and self-determination of the people. The second one, to take other appropriate measures to strengthen the universal peace. Now, here the measures taken by the Council to ensure the international peace and security should therefore respect the principle of equal right and the self-determination of the people with special reference to the state sovereignty. Then the sub-article 3 comes with to achieve the international cooperation in solving the international problems on economic, social, cultural and humanitarian characters, and in promoting and encouraging respect of human rights and for the fundamental freedom for all without distinguish as to the race, language or religion. Here, such purpose can only be achieved if the Council and the state acting under its authority would not promote or encourage the respect of the human rights, but respect of the human rights themselves. Then the last article, sub-article 2, article 1 of the UN Charter is the center of the harmonization, the actions of the national in the attachment of these common ends. In the light of this position, the Security Council must desist from the acting selectively or arbitrary sanctions imposed on one country but not on another from the same wrong would be violate this requirement of harmonization. Then the sanction imposed unequally on two countries for the same wrong would also violate the harmony provision under the UN Charter, Article 1. Right. Now we are moving to why the need and the purpose or the establishment of the Security Council. And it's according to UN Charter, the Security Council is conferred with the mandate to maintain international peace and security, a common good. Then coming into the Sri Lankan context as well, with special reference to Rome Convention on International Criminal Court. Now, when it comes to this aspect, Sri Lanka is not a state party to this convention, whereas still there are some capabilities to be sentenced Sri Lanka under this convention, even though we are not a state party. The crimes that the International Convention recognizes are crimes within the court's jurisdictions, crimes against humanity, war crimes and aggression, and the prosecutor. This would be the most interesting issue. The fifth one, the Rome Treaty also permits the prosecutor to initiate an investigation on her own promotion, that is called the proprio motu, subject to the rigorous safeguards under Article 13.3 and Article 15. Now, the next question would be, could there be any possibility of Sri Lankan situation to be prosecuted under the Rome Statute for so-called human rights violation, which had been done, so-called done the period between the war and the post-war context. Now, there are small opportunity to be prosecuted as the legal expert assumes under Article 13C and Article 15(1) of the statutes, and there are several attempts, and also it must be said that foreign intervention, like the UN has been, US has attempted to make certain resolutions against Sri Lanka in the context of human rights violation in the period of after post-war and between the period of the war.